I'm sitting down with Dr. Rashad Mansoor, the Senior Vice President of EPRI. Now, I understand that you just landed in Seoul yesterday.
That's correct.
So how are you dealing with the jet lag?
Oh, jet lag, no jet lag.
No jet lag? Did you
No
sleep
jet
on the
lag.
plane?
No, slept on the plane, but with all the exciting things that we're seeing, there's no time for jet lag.
Ah, correct answer. Now, before we continue, could you give our viewers a brief introduction of your institution?
Sure. Electric Power Research Institute, we are a global organization, work with electric utilities across 6 continents to shape the future of electricity. Our focus is to make sure that electricity remains for the foreseeable future for the society a clean, a reliable, affordable, and a safe form of energy.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is your 6th time in Korea, but your first time.
My first time in Gwangju for BIXPO, but yes, so at least 6 times.
At least 6 times.
We have a very long relationship working with KEPCO.
KEPCO.
And that has been very fruitful for us and hopefully for KEPCO as well.
Yeah, I've been to the EPRI booth before, and there were several brochures, and one of them had a picture of MOU agreement.
That's correct.
With EPRI and KEPCO.
That is correct.
Now, as you might be aware, BIXPO, one of the things that we emphasize is that it's the first of its kind in the world in terms of combining 3 different elements that would otherwise call for 3 separate events. You know, you have the invention fair, you have the conference, and you also have exhibitions.
That's correct.
Now, in your position as a Senior Vice President of EPRI, I would imagine that you've been to a lot of similar events. So,
that is correct.
In your opinion, what sets BIXPO apart from the rest?
Well, I had today to look at the different exhibits and the opening ceremony, and now that you have the invention fair, but just from this first 5 or 6 hours, I see 3 main areas where there's a difference between this conference and a lot of other good conferences around the world. And I think the first one that captures me is the amount of collaboration with a lot of other countries.
Right.
There are technology expos, there are people from many utilities, and that collaboration of bringing thought leaders together, I think that sets BIXPO apart. I think invention, having a strong focus on invention, and a strong focus on not just electricity or energy technologies, but this new innovation, what we call the 4th Industrial Revolution.
Right.
And that's the IoT, that's the robotics, and if you look at the exhibits, you see all those things.
Right, I've seen a lot of booths.
A lot of booths related
that.
to, if 10 years ago you came to a power industry conference, you would see transformers and large equipment, which are very important. But what you see here is what is the 4th generation of industrial revolution. And one of the things that's exciting to see that Korea, not just KEPCO, will be at the leading frontier on this 4th generation of revolution. And the 1st generation was steam.
Yes.
2nd was electricity.
That's right.
3rd was computer. And the 4th generation is Internet of Things, robotics,
IoT,
data analytics, artificial intelligence. And the combination of all those technologies, how it impacts the production of energy and use of energy, this is a great place to see that. And the 3rd element is absolutely amazing hospitality.
All right.
The hospitality of KEPCO, the hospitality of the hosts of the delegation, I would say another clear thing that sets this conference apart.
On the topic of hospitality, how do you like Korean food?
When I was flying from Dallas,
right,
and in the plane, you're offered different food. I actually tried bibimbap.
Ah, bibimbap, yeah.
So I like Korean food. I haven't tried kimchi yet.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward to tonight to having some Korean
kimchi,
food.
Yeah. Bibimbap, it's very healthy. All the different
that is correct.
vegetables.
That is correct.
And gochujang.
That's exactly right.
Now, you mentioned the 4th Industrial Revolution and
Right.
Internet of Things, and you believe that Korea will be part of the leaders in that change. Now, a very hot topic, not just in Korea, but globally, is ways to deal with climate change and ways to minimize greenhouse gases. And I'm sure you're aware, KEPCO as well as other Korean companies and institutions are very much dedicated to developing new energy industries and so on. What's your take as an expert of Korea's response to climate change?
I think this is, right now we are working with our global members in defining a vision of the future,
Right.
a clean energy vision of the future. And when we are looking at what needs to be done, there are many things that are already happening with KEPCO and other utilities.
Yes.
So first thing is you have to produce electricity in a cleaner way. That's nuclear, that's renewables, that's fossil coal generation with carbon capture.
Right, right.
But just doing that alone will not achieve a clean energy future. In order to achieve a clean energy future in, let's say, 2050, reducing CO2 emission by 80%,
Right.
you will now have to use electricity more and more so that other sectors of the economy, when you drive a car, what fuel are you using? That's the gasoline.
Right.
Many of the heating comes from steam that's created by LNG.
Yes.
Those are also producing emission. So if you have to reduce emission, a key aspect that I think currently is missing is what we call electrification. As electricity is made cleaner and cleaner, we should be electrifying transportation, we should be electrifying heating, industrial heating, commercial heating. And once we do that, the KEPCO's electricity use in Korea will expand because electricity is the only form of energy that can be produced cleanly.
Right.
When you drive a car and you
Yes.
fill your car with a tank of gas, you cannot clean that energy form.
Right.
But if you're driving an electric vehicle, and if electricity is made from clean resources, that's the only way you can significantly reduce emission. So one of the things we are encouraging the government and the policymakers to don't just look at power production. Yes, that's 30% of emission, but the rest 70% of emission is direct use of fossil fuel in transportation, in heating, in residential, industrial, commercial.
Right.
And electrification has to be a big piece for a clean energy future.
Right. So you believe that electricity use will be pivotal.
Electricity use has to be pivotal. I was hearing this morning's plenary session, and there was a comment made that in 1887, when the first light bulb came in the palace in the Korean royal family, that was a pivotal point of changing of civilization.
Right.
I think if we have to achieve significant carbon reduction in the next 30, 40, 50 years, we need to have another pivotal point, which is electricity now needs to be used in many other places where we are not using electricity today, but we are using other forms of energy. And we need to make electricity in a cleaner way.
Yes.
And in the cleaner way, we are already working on wind and solar, and Korea is a leading country in nuclear.
Nuclear power, that's right.
And then we are also working on the research side on how you can use natural gas and coal, but with carbon capture.
Yes.
But that alone will not give you a clean energy future unless you electrify
All the end user
transportation,
part.
heating at the end use part. And currently the focus on electrification is not there. Whenever you hear about clean energy, you hear renewables,
Yes.
you hear nuclear, you hear carbon capture, which are very important. But the other piece is the use. And if we don't use the clean electricity that we are producing, we will not be able to reduce our emission to the level that is needed based on the COP21, the COP21 in
That's
Paris.
Right. That's right. Now, today is the first day of BIXPO. Tomorrow, one of the major events of BIXPO is the CTO Forum, and I understand that you are one of the panelists there. Can you give us a glimpse into what you'll be talking about tomorrow?
Briefly, this vision of the future, clean energy vision of the future, we call this the integrated energy network.
Integrated Energy Network.
And the integrated energy network is based on three foundational infrastructure. One is producing clean energy. Another one is using clean energy, that's electrification. And the third one is a smart grid that brings energy production and use together. So I'll briefly introduce the topic, the concept of an integrated energy network,
Right.
so that we can have the global industry working with the partners for a long-term future of a clean energy future.
So that's your topic. What are you hoping to hear from other speakers, other panelists?
I'm looking forward to what are some of the other visions that you have for a clean energy future, but I'm also looking at, from a Chief Technology Officer perspective, what are some of the key areas that you are engaged in?
Korea
In
or
Korea and for
globally?
speakers globally, what are there's so many things you can do. One of the challenge for technology is how do you prioritize?
Yes.
What are some of the key priorities that you have? So I'm hoping to hear that tomorrow as well.
hopefully you'll get some answers. And thank you very much for taking time to
Thank
share
you.
your thoughts and expertise. We very much appreciate that. And all the best for your talk tomorrow and the rest of your stay in Korea.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.